We've said it before, but the royalty business is tough. It's not exactly like the junior mining industry itself. You aren't going out and staking some claims and maybe getting lucky with some good geology that pays off in your favor. Instead, you're up against some of the best and brightest that the industry has to offer, trying to out-analyze and beat everyone else to the punch on what may be the next Cobre Panama or Canadian Malartic mine. It's a game of probabilities, risk, and ultimately trust that a bunch of miners have the wherewithal to turn a piece of real estate in the middle of nowhere into a profitable mine. And then, assuming you take that risk and fund the right projects that actually make it to production, you have to trust that management knows their geology perfectly, so that you can provide guidance for your own investors on how your company will do next quarter. And sometimes that risk blows up in your face and you miss production guidance. But it doesn't really matter anyways because the global economy is imploding, sending the value of precious metals sky high. Kind of like what happened to Elemental Altus in 2024. Let's dive in. Elemental Altus in the fourth quarter reported revenue of $5.5 million, a 39% improvement on a year-over-year basis from the $4 million recorded in Q4 2024. On an adjusted basis, revenue grew from $5.6 million to $6.8 million, a 21% improvement. The adjusted revenue figure reflects the inclusion of revenue from an effective royalty on the Caserones copper mine. In simple terms, Elemental holds a 24.4% equity interest in an entity that holds the royalty on Caserones, meaning it's technically an equity investment and can't be recognized as revenue from a royalty. Net profit for the fourth quarter totaled $134,000, a decline of 94% on a year-over-year basis from $2.2 million. However, last year's figures were elevated as a result of a one-time $3 million gain on an asset disposal. Adjusted EBITDA in the fourth quarter, meanwhile, improved from $2.8 million to $4.8 million, while adjusted operating cash flows improved from $2.2 million to $3.3 million on a year-over-year basis. For the full fiscal year, total revenue improved from $11.7 million to $16.3 million, a 39% improvement and a new record for the company, while adjusted revenue improved from $17.9 million to $21.6 million, a 21% improvement, which met guidance that was revised in November, which called for adjusted revenue in a range of $21.6 to $23.1 million. Elemental Altus for the full year of 2024 recorded a net loss of $364,000, which is an improvement over the $3.9 million loss recorded in 2023. Adjusted EBITDA, meanwhile, grew from $9.8 million to $15.1 million, a 54% increase. Adjusted operating cash flow for the full fiscal year improved from $6.1 million to $8.7 million, with Elemental Altus ending the year with cash and cash equivalents of $4.5 million. The company also notably paid down $27 million in debt over the course of the year, ending 2024 with borrowings of just $2.7 million, which was subsequently paid off in the first quarter. Compared to peers, Elemental Altus is rather quiet when it comes to production data, with the Associated News release simply highlighting that the fourth quarter saw gold equivalent production of 2,552 ounces. Perhaps it's because that figure was actually down from 2023, despite the overall revenue and financial improvement on a year-over-year basis, with last year seeing 2,800 GEOs produced in the fourth quarter. Elemental's MD&A reveals the decline comes despite the Bonikro royalty seeing production improve from 585 to 899 gold equivalent ounces in the quarter, and Ballarat improving from 0 to 151 ounces. The decline can be attributed to the loss of other income of 206 GEOs, plus a decline at Caserones, which saw production fall from 850 to 489 ounces. The quarterly decline is also notable in that the quarter was basically saved by the $28 million acquisition of Alpha Stream, with the purchase being credited with the doubling of production at the Bonikro, Ballarat, and SKO royalties in Q4. For the full year, production fell from 9,100 ounces to 9,000 ounces. Bonikro was the largest producer for the year at 2,200 ounces, which was an improvement of 1,300 ounces year over year. However, that gain was offset by declines at Caserones, where production fell from 3,100 ounces to 2,200. Guidance, meanwhile, had originally called for 2024 production of 10,000 to 11,700 gold equivalent ounces, which the company failed to achieve. Revised guidance in November reduced that range, however, to 9,000 to 9,500 following a delayed start at the Colorai Sud, which the company also failed to meet. So, how are things shaping up for 2025? Well, after a rising gold price saved the company's 2024 results despite the failure to hit production guidance, Elemental Altus is raising the bar again. Production in 2025 has been forecasted to come in between 11,600 to 13,200 gold equivalent ounces, which would be a new record for the company. The figure represents a 38% production increase year over year based on midpoints. That production is said to be weighted towards the first half of the year, which will be bolstered by delayed sales at Caserones in Q4 2024 being pushed into Q1 2025, as well as the start of production at Allied Gold's Colorai Sud project. Adjusted revenue for 2025, meanwhile, is expected to be in a range of $30.1 to $34.3 million, a figure which is based on $4 a pound copper and $2,600 an ounce gold, which basically means that provided production comes in as expected, the revenue guidance will be handily beat provided we cross the $3,300 an ounce gold mark this week. The company is also expected to generate up to $15 million in one-off payments this year, with 2/3 of that expected in the first half of the year. All right, so let's wrap it up. 2024 didn't go exactly as planned by Elemental Altus, but a massive rise in the price of gold basically made that issue non-existent. A hot gold price masks a lot of issues. And when you're in a business as tough as the royalty business, well, it's a nice perk. With the company now debt-free, a $50 million credit facility waiting in the wings, and a great metals environment, it wouldn't be shocking to see more M&A activity this year. In either case, the company appears to be in a position of strength, which is a nice change of pace for these markets. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. If there's stories you want us to cover, as always, let us know in the comments section. Also, if you enjoyed the content, we always appreciate those likes and shares. All right, everybody, thanks for watching.